Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching Samaa News. Here are today's headlines. US President Donald Trump has called Ukraine's demand for long-range Tomahawk missiles an escalation, saying he will be talking about it. The remark came as Trump met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy at the White House, calling him a strong leader. Trump also confirmed plans to meet Vladimir Putin in Hungary, but said a face-to-face meeting between Zelenskyy and Putin was to be determined. President Donald Trump says his proposed 100% tariff on Chinese goods is not sustainable, but insists Beijing's export curbs forced his hand. Speaking to a news channel, Trump said the new tariffs and export controls aim to secure a fair deal ahead of his planned meeting with President Xi in South Korea. The remarks came just as the head of the World Trade Organization warned that rising US-China trade tensions could slash global economic output by 7%. WTO chief Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala urged both sides to de-escalate, saying global financial stability depends on trade stability as new tariffs and export curbs shake markets. On the other hand, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has directed the IMF and World Bank to adopt tougher stances on China's state-driven economic policies. In a statement to the IMF Steering Committee, Bessent urged ending World Bank support for China and redirecting funds to poorer nations. The Kremlin says a summit between Presidents Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin could take place within the next 2 weeks, most likely in Budapest. The announcement follows the two leaders' recent agreement to hold fresh talks on ending the war in Ukraine. Kremlin officials say several diplomatic steps remain before finalizing a date, with Moscow stressing its readiness for a peaceful settlement. Meanwhile, Hungary has confirmed it will guarantee safe entry for Russian President Vladimir Putin to attend his planned summit with President Trump in Budapest. Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó said the government would ensure Putin's visit and return take place without obstacles, despite the International Criminal Court issuing a warrant for his arrest. As this unfolds, a senior Kremlin envoy has proposed building a Putin-Trump tunnel under the Bering Strait to connect Russia and the United States. Head of Russia's Sovereign Wealth Fund, Kirill Dmitriev, says the $8 billion rail and cargo link would symbolize unity and revive cooperation between the two countries. The project is inspired by century-old plans to link Siberia and Alaska and was floated just hours after Putin and Trump agreed to meet in Budapest. German Finance Minister Lars Klingbeil says G7 nations are united on using frozen Russian assets to pressure Moscow and support Ukraine. Speaking at the IMF meetings in Washington, he said the bloc aims to hit Russia's war economy harder. Ukraine says it struck a Russian oil depot and a fuel warehouse in Moscow-occupied Crimea overnight. Kyiv's military confirmed drone attacks on targets in Hvardiska and Jankoy, both used by Russian forces. Drone footage released by Ukraine shows explosions at the site. The temporary ceasefire between Pakistan and Afghanistan has been extended until the conclusion of talks in Doha. The extension came at Kabul's request, with high-level negotiations expected to begin tomorrow. Meanwhile, in a strongly worded statement, Defence Minister Khawaja Asif says Pakistan has paid a heavy price since the Taliban takeover in Afghanistan, with nearly 4,000 lives lost and more than 10,000 terror incidents recorded. In a social media post, the minister said the Afghan regime continues to act as India's proxy and is orchestrating a war of terrorism against Pakistan in collusion with New Delhi and the Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan. He made it clear that Pakistan can no longer afford to maintain relations with Kabul as it did in the past, signalling a dramatic shift in policy. He said Pakistan had already endured 5 decades of forced hospitality, and now it was time for all Afghans refugees to return to their homeland, where their own government holds sway. He concluded the statement with a clear ultimatum that Afghanistan must coexist as a neighbour that respects peace or face consequences. Hamas has urged mediators Egypt, Qatar and Turkey to advance the next steps of the Gaza ceasefire, which includes reopening borders, allowing aid and beginning reconstruction. The group says it remains committed to the truce, but accused Israel of delaying key measures. Meanwhile, the United Nations World Food Programme says it has delivered around 560 tons of food per day to Gaza since the ceasefire began, but the aid remains far below what's needed. It says access to northern Gaza and Gaza City is still blocked, with damaged roads and closed crossings slowing relief efforts, even as the agency races to expand food assistance across the enclave. South Korea has launched its largest ever defense exhibition, ADEX 2025, featuring record global participation and live air shows led by the country's new KF-21 fighter jet. More than 600 defense firms from 35 countries are taking part in the Seoul event. The 3-day air display will be followed by major business exhibitions, as Seoul boosts defense spending by over 8% amid growing regional tensions. And China has successfully launched a new satellite group from the Taiyuan Center in Shaanxi province. The satellites will form part of the Space Sail constellation, a commercial, low-orbit network aimed at boosting communication and data services. The launch took place at 3:08 p.m. Beijing time aboard a modified Long March 6 rocket, marking the 601st mission in the Long March series. That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.samaa.tv. Thank you for watching Samaa News.